He wanted shots that were dense, as far as, not kind of longer takes with a lot going on in the background, just rich frames that just kind of go on. So that was our goal, and I tried to, see how far we can take it with our limited experience level. Like, let's just go for it and take risks and see, reach for this thing. We're going to fall on our face a few times, but that's just part of it. And so we're really doing our best to bring that. And I had a lot of, backlog of ideas going back to almost film school of all this technical stuff I wanted to try. And having the opportunity to do that was, hard to express how joyful that was. Yeah, that was kind of the biggest thing. It's like, isn't for me invention, like Craig, the production designer, had this research that was like really helpful to him, Rob, what he did, Linda, but really, being so distant as far as the visual arts, I had really nothing to go by. So it was just, that was the difficult thing, to sort of not have that guidance, because even The Witch, we could look at paintings of a certain era, but this, we didn't have that. The reason you have these viewpoints is because Main Street and Rapsy like goes up like this. So how do you have these moving shots? We used. I learned about all kinds of new tools. That was like a camera car with a crane on it. Because there's no other way to get this stuff. We carried. So that was a challenge there. But again, with the little V and the map, we like Amleth's escape. Really planned to a T. We knew what it was. We knew that we had to take the backside of a house out to get him under the house, and I knew I had to tent it to make it look like it was actually under the house, even though it was open on the back, and how to, again, puppeteering these hypothetical performers to execute this shot. But the hope is that it's, maybe it is oppressive, but it's like that, I really enjoy the idea that like the camera is sort of, knows everything. Like the camera is leading the action instead of the action leading the camera. Like they really are linked together. It was a lot of fun to devise that sequence, and I'm very happy with it, and it was daunting at first to sort of figure out how to do a raid as simply as possible, even though it's like on the face of it very complex, but like how do you have the camera do something simple with like, but also depict so many layers of things going on. So, but again, having 7 months to figure that out, that's pretty cool. Filners Farm, visually wonderful. Not so easy to work there. We got really lucky because it's very windy there. And we shot some tests there I was working out my moonlight techniques for lighting there, and we were grounded both tests because of wind. So I really was worrying whether we could actually shoot there, but we already built the farm there. So that was a big concern. I think if we actually shot on time, that would have been a real issue. But when we returned in August, it was just prohibitive. Like stuff which cranes were like the lighting frames were bending. The cranes were, you just couldn't keep them up in the air. It was just so windy. So yeah, that was very concerning. But the fact that we went back in August, suddenly it was very calm and we could shoot there. And that may have saved us. It was just like, reducing things to the essentials, which is kind of how would I put it? It's kind of a deceptive endeavor because you really have to think about it for a long time. Like, how do you pack all this information with all these characters and these abstract ideas of, magic and following a fox the same time he sees his mother for the first time? Like, how do you sort of rearrange all this information into just nice, clean streams of information, in less shots? You could you could sort of just kind of pick off stuff, but that's just not very, it's kind of like I don't know, like something layered and complex, whether it's food, wine, whatever, is just more satisfying than, just sort of like little simple nibbles, So, and I just wanted to try that, so it doesn't mean that you have to do a scene in one shot. That's just, that can get academic, but something where you're really just, how many things can you fit into one visual idea, and still have it work. As far as like photographically, it was, for me, it was actually pretty neutral. It was more through the camera language that I really got to play. It wasn't, because there wasn't a lot of photographic texture I was putting on it, like my other stuff with Rob, or probably will do again. But so it really was all about what interests me as far as like telling a story in a pure way as possible, So I don't, it's not like Rhapsody is going to have a strong blue tone and then you go inside, you'll have Firelight will look red and Overcast will look cool, but there wasn't anything heavy photographically put on it. I really, it's all just kind of, what is the rhythm, what's the tempo of a scene, what's the feeling you have to, when you walk through a house, just the simple difference of how you pan, conveys a different feeling. It was like, little stuff like that, even though a shot could have 10 of those things, like, oh, this boom up just feels a certain way, or it just, I don't want to say it's like a dance, but that's kind of it. What's the tone through how the camera moves? In this case, it was the berserker priest with his, with his helmet and, his two staves or spears. And then he moves, and then you show a little bit more, and then you show the entire campfire, and you show, having that shot sort of unfold, and then it sort of sits there at a certain pace. And then when they go into a frenzy, it's then that we start moving around, and it's kind of this low angle coming around the fire, and the more that they intensify, the more that now we're gonna go in through the crowd and, pick out Alex and have our shot intensify. So trying to take our cues, our camera cues from what's going on, but at the same time, distilling it, getting rid of, just making sure it's all, simplifying it, hopefully in the best way possible. You're not going to have these people going crazy and these people in a different mode, or, you're going to sort of shape it to try to make it, I guess shoehorn it into whatever the purest version of itself it can be. It's nice having rules sometimes, like, we have Firelight, we have Overcast, and we have Sun. That's it. That's what you get. So having those rules, I kind of like. I mean, this was sort of extreme, like not having even a window to work with, but it's nice to be able to just, I guess, rule out, extraneous things early on. You want to fully use the set that's been built for this raid, which means you tend to see it from one side of the village, and assuming the audience, or, and hoping that the audience is going to assume that you're in the middle of the village, so you're only seeing half of it, but really you're seeing the whole thing. So that helps simplify it. Like if you sort of see the village from kind of one side of what we built, using the maximum depth throughout all the shots. So that sort of we sort of planted action that CC came up with. Excuse me. We planted action that CC came up with around the buildings that were there, that Craig had there, and then we sort of, depending on what cranes were able to do, like, oh, this distance between this building should be a little shorter, and then we'll try, we'll compensate by tracking more in this next shot and whatever. So, so it just felt natural that, I mean, we always assumed it was going to be depicted as 4 shots, like we had 4 big action beats, or main action beats, and other like layers of secondary action beats. But each one of those would have been a shot. We're trying to be realistic. But when you just, when you're trying to work the depth of the set all the time, it's like, well, this just flows from left to right. Like why do anything else? I mean, we had to have one cut to depict early on when he jumps off the palisade and lands on the horse, but that's the best way to tell it visually anyway. But other than that, we're just gonna depict a single take, and that to me is the simpler solution than trying to shoot multi-camera, and that's just how my brain works. Working with Cray to make sure the camera can get to A to B to C to D, fluidly, cutting pieces out, putting them back, Frankensteining sets back together, whatever we had to do. I probably am getting spoiled by him, but the art team are a little fiddling with, just background details of tables and props and, cheating things here or there to make the composition, So big thing, art department, and then just Dutch pulling off these and VFX, putting big time, and finding ways to merge stuff together. I mean, the raid and putting stitches and things like the thatch of a roof, or tilting down to someone about to be attacked and then tilting up and having it all blend together and feel like one piece. So it really was a lot of departments coming together, to pull this off. So, all these ridiculous ideas we had, would have been impossible without them. To bring, to sort of make it for grown-ups and to depict something. Hopefully it's more exciting because it is based in something real and something accurate, and carries the extra weight of not just flights of fancy, but an entire way of living and a way of a belief system, and and feeling the anchor and the weight of that.